Luchia, Sapienza, and I did an IBR on The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. As you can see, my book is displayed on top of a castle because I think that intrigues the students even more so, and they're really interested to see what's inside the book. So I'm just going to show you the pages. Okay, here is the closet, because basically the book is based on a closet that the four children enter into, and they find out that there's a whole new world inside this closet. And that is actually the reason why I chose this book, because as a kid, I always needed books that kept me interested. So this really kept me interested, that I was always eager to go on to the next chapters, because there was fantasy and the kids were on an adventure. So
Is that closet open?
No, it does not.
Okay.
Because you're opening the book, so it's like the closet.
Oh.
And here's my invitation page, which is another closet. And you're going to open it up. Okay. And it says, imagine that you were able to enter in a world with a totally different reality, where time was suspended on Earth while you explored this fantasy world. This fantasy world includes creatures you hope you have never seen before. A lot of magic and good versus evil. In The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, the four children, Lucy, Edmund, Susan, and Peter, escaped the air raids that occurred in London during World War II by staying with the professor in his large castle-like house, hence the castle. One day, the four children decided to play hide-and-seek in the house. This is when Lucy hid in the large wardrobe, only to find another world inside, Narnia. Although her brothers and sister did not believe her story about this other world, they soon discovered for themselves that Lucy spoke the truth. The four children met many unique creatures during their voyage to meet with Aslan, the Great Lion. They also had encounters with the White Witch, who made Narnia always have winter without Christmas. Now is your chance to explore the many events Lucy, Edmund, Susan, and Peter experienced in their own journey into the wardrobe to Narnia. Enter into a world of fantasy, treason, and triumph. And that invites the students to start the book. Here's my table of contents, so that it's easy to play the pages, so you can see which project you want, which page you would like to play. Here's a little bit about the author. C.S. Lewis actually used to write adult books, but he actually started writing children's books in 1939. He started writing children's books. And The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was actually his first children's book that he wrote. Many people told him not to write children's books because they thought that would, make him less of a writer because he's writing children's books. Luckily, he did not listen to them, and now he had the whole Narnia series, so he actually did very well. Here are the thinking phases, so that students are aware of the type of comprehension questions based on the phases of thinking.
So could you give us an example of an activity?
Sure.
And what thinking goes into that activity?
Sure. Knowing who are the main characters would be the first phase of thinking. Those are your basic comprehension questions. And then it
So
goes...
you'd be recognizing and realizing and classifying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And then we go all the way down to the last phase would probably be what would you change about the ending of the book. So that's where they're doing their inferencing and they're doing their thinking on their own based on the events that happened in the book. Then over here, of course, you have your materials that you need to play the book. And then you have, this is called Who Said What? And it's basically dialogue that was from the book. Has all the characters' names, and it has all the quotes from the book. It even tells you the page number just in case a student does get stuck. And that's where you wrap around from one character, and then you try to match up with what they said. And then of course the back, they could do self-assess to help them.
Could you give us an example of a...
Sure.
You don't have to have a match, but if you could give us an example of...
So Lucy, sorry. If I go to Lucy, one thing she did say was, because if you did come again, bringing them with you, of course, I'd be able to give you some more Turkish delight. So if I go this way, let's see. Oops. I'm sorry. I was wrong. It's supposed to be, I hadn't known what humans were like before I met you. Of course, I can't give you, no, I'm sorry, that was wrong too. So Lucy said, if you match up, and it goes this way. So I would match up to Lucy, and then she would go to her quotation mark. And then when you go towards the back, and you go to the next character, you could match up the lines.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Just gonna put this aside. Then here is your adjective challenge, which is always something that you want, no matter what grade you're doing your IBR in. Adjectives and other parts of speech are very important for them to know. Where they take, in the box they have adjectives, and they put the correct adjective to match the character from the book.
Ooh.
And then of course we have a recipe.
The answers are on the back?
Yes, and the answers are on the back. And also I might add, on the back of every page is also encouragement, so they continue to keep going on to the next page. Because you always want them to feel good about themselves, even though they might get something wrong, that's okay. Then we have the Turkish Delight, because since a lot of the, inside the book it did mention Turkish Delight plenty of times, even when I read it I had to look it up because I had no idea what that was. So here is a recipe on Turkish Delight if they would like to make it.
So what are some of the things in Turkish Delight?
Turkish Delight?
Yeah.
It has sugar, water, lemon juice, cornstarch, rose water, food coloring, and confectioner's sugar. Basically, to me, I mean, it looks like marzipan.
Candy.
Yeah, it looks like marzipan. There's a picture of it too. Next, we have the task cards. Okay, and this is based on synonyms. So, and they're cut so that they're able to make the correct match. Okay, like repulsive is the same thing as reject, and I can match them up. Obviously, when they take them out, they shouldn't be together. They should be spread out so that they can think on their own. But what I do like about it is that they can self-assess, so they don't need me to constantly, if I'm working with one group, I don't need to be around to have to check on their answers. And here we have a word search. Basically, it's all the foods, the feasts of Narnia, so all the foods that you would find in the book, which has the answers on the back. Next is the sequence of events. Now, the sequence of events looks like this. It's 2 pages. So it is challenging, so obviously it'd be with more than one person, one student. And all the strips are in the back. Okay. And then you just, they would have to put, I would say they would put all the strips on the table and have to figure out which sequence, which event happened in sequence order. Again, they could self-assess because I did number them, so after they're done, they could also check on their own and see the number. Okay, and then this is the Witch's Wand Pick-a-Dot. Okay, so these are comprehension questions based on the book, and I think this is actually my favorite activity. Because you get the fabulous wand. So, you have the wand, here's your Pick-a-Dot, and then here are the cards that you need. So 1 card at a time. So what is Aslan want? So we have it in here. Okay. So what does Aslan want? It's either what is Aslan? I'm sorry. What is Aslan? It's either a tiger, a dog, or a lion. So if I put the wand into the tiger, it does not lift out, so that means it is the incorrect answer. I put into dog, same thing, does not lift out. So obviously, let's go to the lion, and it pulls out, so that means that that is the correct answer. And there is a picture of the white witch as well, since it is her wand. Okay, and then we come to our vocabulary flip sheet, which is another castle, and where on the back of the cards, the back are the cards. So it's vocabulary from the book, which there was a lot of. Stag, so I put stag in. It comes out with the answer, which is a full-grown male deer. Okay. This, I might add, flip sheet I have also used in my classroom, even in math. I've used with math facts to have students practice their math. Even vocabulary in science or in social studies, so it doesn't have to only be used in about a book, the book report.
How do the students like it?
They love it. They're very eager to use it, actually. So I use it some more of an intervention to have those students who, because we do give a lot of facts tests monthly, to have them constantly practice their facts, their addition and subtraction facts. Since there was always winter in Narnia, but there was never a Christmas, we are making Christmas decorations. So they were able to make a snowman, and all the supplies are inside the envelope as well. Then here is also another favorite of mine, is creating a postcard, because it has writing and art in the same thing, which is fantastic. And you're pretending to be a character from going to Narnia, and you're explaining to another person what you saw, what's going on. So I have a sample here also. All the index cards are here. So here is a sample of the picture of what I thought of Narnia. And then I wrote, "Dear Mom, I'm having so much fun with Edmund, Peter, Lucy, and Susan. I met a fawn, a dwarf, and some nice beavers. Narnia is cold and has a lot of snow, but I'm still having fun. See you soon." Okay, and then they could put an address, a fake address. And all the postcards are in here.
What made you think of that?
I just thought of that because I think it's important for students to be able to write creatively, trying to pretend. You know, when you're a kid, you're a toddler even, you do a lot of pretend. So as kids get older, because this is, I would say for 4th grade and older, they lose that of like pretending. So I think that's important for them to pretend to be a character.
So you're actually having them use their imagination?
Absolutely.
To create
Which,
something.
to my surprise, is interesting to see that there are many students feel like they're lacking imagination, because I'm often asked, I don't know what to write, or I don't know how to start, which is odd to me, because you think as a kid you should have all this imagination running wild in your head, but I think nowadays students aren't allowed to use their imagination as much as I did as a kid.
So you're providing them with an opportunity that you had as a child?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, and then along with their postcard, they're going to make their own stamp, which all the, I already pre-cut the stamps. Oop. So they draw the little stamp, and then after they're done, they're going to glue it onto their postcard. And then finally, we also get to creative writing. Now this is where my technology is involved, because they are first going to be writing a rough draft on loose leaf, and they're going to be creating their own fantasy story. So I did give a sample of mine. So first they will write on loose leaf, and then I'll give them their magical glitter paper, where they're able to type it up on the computer and then have it printed on the special paper. because at least they're able to make their own creative story.
Do you want to share what you wrote?
Sure. Okay. As I walked through the wardrobe, I saw a bright white light poking through the trees. I heard a lot of noises around me, which made me scared, but I kept walking anyway. All of a sudden, I was out of the wardrobe and in another world. This world had trees made out of candy, flowers made out of cotton candy, and a river filled with chocolate. I thought I was in heaven, but I was in a mysterious place. A white pony came towards me and asked if I was lost. I said yes and asked where I was. He said I was in a magic candy forest and everyone is welcome. I walked through this candy forest and ate all the candy that was available. A little while passed, I started feeling sick, so I asked the white pony how would I get back to the wardrobe. The pony said I had to follow Candy Cane Lane straight ahead to where I first met him. I followed his directions and traveled back into the wardrobe. When I got out of the wardrobe, I heard my mother calling for me. I ran to her and gave her a big hug because I missed her. We ate dinner together and then my mother offered me double chocolate cake, but I refused to have any more chocolate. The end.
Nicely done.
So I wasn't expecting them to write pages and pages, just a short fantasy story. And then of course, you can't visit a place without getting a souvenir, so they're making their own souvenirs, which these key rings are located in the front, but in here they have the circle that they would create their key ring, and then we'd put them into the
Wow,
key ring.
where did you get the key ring?
Michael's. Mine bought the key rings, yeah.
Very nice.
And then this one I
What does
created,
it
just
say?
as a
I
sample.
love Narnia?
Yeah. Like I love New York, I love Narnia. Okay. And then you come to the end of the book, and it congratulates you for finishing the book and the IBR. And then of course you are getting your certificate for coming and then running out of the closet just like you did. You came out of the wardrobe.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Can you tell us, you had mentioned something earlier on when we were talking about Comic 4 and about how this is project and performance based. And then you mentioned that using this type of teaching method could do what? What was that?
Well, using this teaching method is actually great for test prep because in my school when I taught upper grades in third, fourth, and fifth, you're not using a booklet and pencil and just saying, okay, you're going to answer these questions and then that's it. So you need to actually have some type of other way of teaching test prep and using those specific skills that they need for the test, as compare and contrast. It's a very big thing. Main idea is a very big thing. But this is a way to teach test prep with actually not having booklets and pencil. A lot of schools don't like that, to have just having them do like old tests from previous years. So you do have to think creatively to try to make sure that they learn those skills before the test.
Nice. Yeah.
And and what's great about the IBR is that it does cater to all students. I've had, the variety of students with special needs, and it works for all of them. And along with this, when I use this with my students, towards the end we did an art project where they created, because in the book what happens is that the witch turns characters into stone. So I had gotten clay, the gray clay, and the students created their own characters based on the book that they turned to stone. So they really loved that aspect of it, but they were really into the book.
What's that trifle board thing you have back
Oh.
here?
Yeah, what's that? We're good? Okay. This trifold board I made so that basically it's the same activities from the book, and I made it also so that the students, more students can actually interact with it. So it's the same activities. This is the who said what, a little bit about the author. And as you can see, some of them are missing because those are the parts that are actually that are in the book already, so that you take out and put in here. So that there's a more range of students that can come and interact with the trifold board without having me to be there with the book.
Oh,
So it has the task cards, the stamps.
nice addition to your,
Yeah.
to the interactive book report.
So that they're not all hovered around that one book.
Right.
You know, even though you can take the pages out of the book, it's still just even a nice display that's always up there as well.
It's hard for me to see that other side.
This onion.
Yeah. Oh, okay, there were your task cards that you had
Yeah.
there. All right, good. And creating the stamp. I think that creating the stamp and creating a postcard would be great workbook activities too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because it also gets the kids to be creative and believe it or not, art actually is comprehension to a book because they have to make a movie in their minds anyway as they're reading the book. So having a postcard, they can't just make, you know, a picture of Burger King because Burger King was not in the book. So they really have to think on their own, what did they envision in the book? Because a lot of these books, you know, don't have a lot of pictures. So they have to really envision in their mind and then create their postcard based on that.
Brilliant.
So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.